Are we live? Welcome, church. Welcome to our folks here in the pews and those of you who are watching us online or later in time. I am the Reverend Alicia Velez Stewart, and it is my honor and my privilege to welcome you to our Good Friday worship service. This is, for many, one of the most meaningful and poignant services of the Christian year. It is the night in which we remember the journey toward Jerusalem and the events that occurred on the night in which Christ was killed. And so this worship service this evening is called a service of shadows. It is a tenebrae service, which means that unlike Advent, where we steadily lit candles to bring us into the light, we are acknowledging that at the end of the evening, on that Friday, the light of the world was extinguished. And so we will be working our way toward darkness. So as we have our readings, we will be lowering the lights and extinguishing a candle until the end of the service, when we will be in darkness. At that point, there will be a loud noise, so be prepared. And that will be the indication that our service has ended. And so you are invited to leave this space when you are ready. Stay as long as you need to in the dark. But I invite you to leave in prayerful silence as an acknowledgement of what has occurred as we enter into the time of Holy Saturday in preparation for resurrection. So let us take this moment now to take a deep breath and let us prepare ourselves for what is to come. We have a number of hymns. They are listed in the bulletin. Your hymnals are in the pews. And because of the type of service that this is, we will not be announcing the hymns. It is a seamless procession through the story. So once our readers complete their reading, be prepared for the next hymn. And it is challenge by choice, as always. So sing if you feel so called, or just allow yourselves to be present to the movement of the Spirit in this place and in this space. So let us breathe deeply together, beloveds. Note where your body is. Feel the ground beneath your feet, the seat that is holding you up. Feel the beating of your heart, the breath filling your lungs. Let us breathe deeply and center ourselves. Let us allow the Spirit to move us where she will. Let us settle our hearts into God's heart as we declare our intention this evening and call in, invoke the Spirit in this space. God is light, in whom there is no darkness at all. Jesus Christ is the light of the world. And this is the moment when everything changed. For the light had come into the world, and the world loved the darkness rather than the light.
The first reading tonight is from Matthew chapter 26, verses 20 to 25. One of you will betray me. That evening, he took his place at the table with the 12 disciples. As they were eating, he said, "I assure you that one of you will betray me." Deeply saddened, each one said to him, "I'm not the one, am I, Lord?" He replied, "The one who will betray me is the one who dips his hand with me into this bowl. The human one goes to his death just as it is written about him. But how terrible it is for that person who betrays the human one. It would have been better for him if he had never been born." Now Judas, who would betray him, replied, "It's not me, is it, Rabbi?" Jesus answered, "You said it." The second reading is also Matthew chapter 26, but verses 31 to 35. "You will deny me 3 times. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Tonight you will all fall away because of me. This is because it is written, 'I will hit the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will go off in all directions.' But after I'm raised up, I'll go before you to Galilee." Peter replied, "If everyone else stumbles because of you, I'll never stumble." Jesus said to him, "I assure you that before the rooster crows tonight, you will deny me 3 times. Peter said, "Even if I must die alongside you, I won't deny you." All the disciples said the same thing.
The third reading is from the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 22, verses 39 to 44. "Father, remove this cup from me." Jesus left and made his way to the Mount of Olives, as was his custom, and the disciples followed him. When he arrived, he said to them, "Pray that you won't give in to temptation." He withdrew from them about a stone's throw, knelt down, and prayed. He said, "Father, if it's your will, take this cup of suffering away from me. However, not my will, but your will must be done." Then a heavenly angel appeared to him and strengthened him. He was in anguish and prayed even more earnestly. His sweat became like drops of blood falling on the ground. The fourth reading is from the Gospel according to Mark, chapter 14, verses 32 to 41. Stay here and keep vigil with me. Jesus and his disciples came to a place called Gethsemane. Jesus said to them, "Sit here while I pray." He took Peter, James, and John along with him. He began to feel despair and was anxious. He said to them, "I am very sad. It's as if I'm dying. Stay here and keep alert." Then he went a short distance further and fell to the ground. He prayed that, if possible, he might be spared the time of suffering. He said, "Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. Take this cup of suffering away from me. However, not what I want, but what you want." He came and found them sleeping. He said to Peter, "Simon, are you asleep? Couldn't you stay awake and alert for 1 hour? Stay alert and pray so that you won't give in to temptation. The spirit is eager, but the flesh is weak." Again he left them and prayed, repeating the same words. And again he came back, and he found them sleeping, for they couldn't keep their eyes open, and they didn't know how to respond to him. Then he came a third time and said to them, "Will you sleep and rest all night? That's enough. The time has come for the human one to be betrayed into the hands of sinners."
When Jesus finished saying these things, he looked up from heaven and said, Father, the time has come. Glorify your Son, so that the Son can glorify you. You gave him authority over everyone so that he could give eternal life to everyone you gave him. This is eternal life, to know you, true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you sent. I have glorified you on earth by finishing the work you gave me to do. Now, Father, glorify me in your presence with the glory I shared with you before the world was created. I have revealed your name to the people you gave me from to this world. They were yours, and you gave them to me, and they have kept your word.
This is from John chapter 18, verses 1 to 5. Who are you after? After he said these things, Jesus went out with his disciples and crossed over to the other side of the Kidron Valley. He and his disciples entered a garden there. Judas, his betrayer, also knew the place because Jesus often gathered there with his disciples. Judas brought a company of soldiers and some guards from the chief priests and Pharisees. They came there carrying lanterns, torches, and weapons. Jesus knew everything that was to happen to him, so he went out and asked, "Who are you looking for?" They answered, "Jesus, the Nazarene." He said to them, "I am." Judas, his betrayer, was standing with them. This is John 18, verses 15 to 27. The rooster crowed. Simon Peter and another disciple followed Jesus. Because this other disciple was known to the high priest, he went with Jesus into the high priest's courtyard. However, Peter stood outside near the gate. Then the other disciple, the one known to the high priest, came out and spoke to the woman, stationed at the gate, and she brought Peter in. The servant woman stationed at the gate asked Peter, "Aren't you one of this man's disciples?" "I'm not," he replied. The servants and the guards had made a fire because it was cold. They were standing around it, warming themselves. Peter joined them there, standing by the fire and warming himself. Meanwhile, the chief priests questioned Jesus about his disciples and his teaching. Jesus answered, "I've spoken openly to the world. I've always taught in synagogues and in the temple where all the Jews gather. I've said nothing in private. Why ask me? Ask those who heard what I told them. They know what I said." After Jesus spoke, one of the guards standing there slapped Jesus in the face. "Is that how you would answer the high priest?" he asked. Jesus replied, "If I speak wrongly, testify about what was wrong. But if I speak correctly, why do you strike me?" Then Annas said to him, bound to Caiaphas, the high priest. Meanwhile, Simon Peter was still standing with the guards, warming himself. They asked, "Aren't you one of his disciples?" Peter denied it, saying, "I'm not." A servant of the high priest, a relative of the one whose ear Peter had cut off, said to him, "Didn't I see you in the garden with him?" Peter denied it again, and immediately a rooster crowed.
At daybreak, the chief priests and the elder legal experts and the whole Sanhedrin formed a plan. They bound Jesus, led him away, and turned him over to Pilate. Pilate questioned him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus replied, "That's what you say." The high priests were accusing him of many things. Pilate asked him again, "Aren't you going to answer? What about all these accusations?" But Jesus gave no more answers, so the Pilate marveled. During the festival, Pilate released one prisoner to them, whomever they requested. A man named Barabbas was locked up with the rebels who had committed murder during the uprising. The crowd pushed forward and asked Pilate to release someone, as he regularly did. Pilate answered them, "Do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews?" He knew that the chief priests had handed him over because of jealousy. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have them release Barabbas to them instead. Pilate replied, "Then what do you want me to do with the one you call the King of the Jews?" And they shouted back, "Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Why? What wrong has he done?" And they shouted out all the more noisily, "Crucify him!" Pilate wanted to satisfy the crowd, so he released Barabbas to them. He had Jesus whipped, then handed him over to be crucified.
Our final reading, John 1, 1 through 13. The Word was first. The Word was present to God, and God present to the Word. The Word was God, in readiness for God from day one. Everything was created through him. Nothing, not one thing, came into being without him. What came into existence was life, and the life was light to live by. The life light blazed out of the darkness, and the darkness couldn't put it out. There once was a man. His name was John, and he was sent by God to point out the way to the life light. He came to show everyone where to look, who to believe in. John was not himself the light. He was there to show the way to the light. The life light was the real thing. Every person entering life, he brings into light. He was in the world. The world was through him. And yet, The world didn't even notice. He came to his own people, but they did not want him.
refuse